we fought hard before the lockdown to say that, well, as we were coming out of the lockdown, that we should be trying to continue to finish the season because we was on a great run. We believe would have got promoted. We were 2 points outside of the automatic promotion places, but because they shut the season down early, we went into the playoffs, and as you all know, and your listeners all know, it's very much a lottery in the playoffs. Not always the best team goes up. Wickham went up. I'm not saying they weren't the best team because they're a very good team, but it does become a 1 in 4 lottery chance to go up. So that's another reason why we're sticking with the manager. We felt it was judged unfairly not achieving promotion this year via the playoffs.
The VAR Show. The one place for your weekly football update.
So, hello, a very warm welcome to the VAR Show, the show which talks about all the major football leagues in detail. Today, we are going to continue with interviews, and we have the CEO of Portsmouth FC, Mr. Mark Catlin. So, without wasting much time, I'd like to first thank Mark for coming on the show. Thank you and welcome to the show. And I'd like to begin by asking you, how are you and what are you doing these days?
No, firstly, thank you for having me on. It's an honour to be on your radio station and reach a new audience. It's difficult times in the UK with the pandemic. And I always say that football, along with a lot of industries, hospitality, different sectors, business sectors in the UK are really struggling at the moment. It's especially difficult for football because for those of you that don't know, in the UK, there's been a gradual relaxation of the lockdown, and bars and restaurants and shops are now allowed customers. But unfortunately, sporting events at this moment, we're not allowed any spectators. So we've got no revenue coming in, and it's difficult, but it's difficult for a lot of industries. But at this moment in time, specifically difficult for sports, the sports industry and football in particular.
Definitely. And I have a lot of questions, like milestones, what are milestones? But one just popped up, like you said that it's a very good opportunity to expand. And I was like, why don't maybe clubs like Portsmouth come or expand, or tie up with clubs here in Nepal?
Yeah, we should. I'm a big cricket fan. I know how passionate everyone is about their cricket out there. And from a sporting point of view, you're very, very well thought of, and there's massive population, and everyone seems to go to certain countries to try and develop academies and sporting centres of excellence. But as I said to you off air before I come on, it's an area I really would like to go to, and coming to that area, I don't see any reason why we can't look at expanding the Portsmouth brand into, if you look at India as an example, it's the second largest population in the world behind China. Yet people are going to China now randomly, and yet we seem to bypass India. And I don't know why we are bypassing that whole region, because there's a huge talent pool there and a huge potential new followers to football clubs, in my regard, for Portsmouth Football Club.
Definitely. And because at least for me, I see a huge market for both the parties involved to grow. Maybe a South Asian country or a team to grow in terms of their brand value, and maybe similar for any team coming from England or anyone from Europe to grow in terms of new market. So that's something personally for me, I think you should explore. And I just wanted to ask you, when you'll do this, suppose this partnership, what do you actually look into?
Well, I think predominantly it's very difficult due to the cross-border rules regarding players. So if you're in the European Union, players can move freely. And so, if we sign someone from Spain or Portugal or Germany, it's just like signing an English player. When you sign someone from outside of the EU, they have to hit, under FIFA rules, a required number of international appearances. And that's very difficult for a club like Portsmouth to attract top international players in the third tier of English football. It's tough. It's easier if you're Manchester United or Liverpool, because you can go around the world and get the very best player in India, the very best player in Nepal, the very best player in Pakistan. You know, you can go and get these best players, and they are at the top of their game, and by default, international players. But for a club like Portsmouth, we are trying to develop the brand globally so that, you know, in India, fans will support their local football team, but their second team will be Portsmouth. And then maybe they'll go on the website, and that grows the number of people looking at the Portsmouth website, which means we can get more money for our sponsors and our commercial partners. So, and maybe sell shirts in Nepal and India, and you know, there's huge populations there. And I think, you know, you obviously aware of this, but internationally now, people look at Nepal and look at India as the fast developing powerhouses economically. And you're 100% correct. It is definitely an area and a region we should look at developing our brand and people's knowledge of Portsmouth so that they become fans of the future.
Definitely. And I think you all had put out one tweet the other day that you are taking questions from Portsmouth fans, and I realized that they are not very happy. So at least you'll have happy fans from this part of the world.
No, it's very difficult at the moment. I mean, we've got what I consider to be a great manager, but because we didn't get promoted this year, people see that, you know, in the UK there's a culture that if you manage it, we're not in the UK, I think in football, you know, around the world now, if the manager doesn't achieve what the fans deem to be acceptable, they just want him sacked and get a new manager in. But Portsmouth, we're a very, very loyal club built on stability. We don't tend to make snap decisions. We look more mid to long term. That is our philosophy. So because I am sticking with the manager, you are correct. A lot of our fans are very unhappy with that at the moment. But that's life. It's not a popularity contest. You know, we have to do what we believe is right for the football club.
Definitely. And you know, like I want to touch upon one topic. You said that you didn't get promotion, and that of course has led to this, you know, like outrage maybe among the fans. But it wasn't your fault, right? The league was shut. Like maybe you could have gotten into the qualification if the league had run its course. So how has it affected Portsmouth as a whole? You know?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. We fought hard before the lockdown to say that, well, as we were coming out of the lockdown, that we should be trying to continue to finish the season because we was on a great run and we believe would have got promoted. We were 2 points outside of the automatic promotion places, but because they shut the season down early, we went into the playoffs, and as you all know, and your listeners all know, it's very much a lottery in the playoffs. Not always the best team goes up. Wycombe went up. I'm not saying they weren't the best team because they're a very good team, but it does become a 1 in 4 lottery chance to go up. So that's another reason why we're sticking with the manager. We felt it was judged unfairly not achieving promotion this year via the playoffs.
Definitely. And you know, like another topic, another area of concern because of the pandemic has been like, you know, like even when the new season starts, I think most of your games will be behind closed doors, which I think for the division you are in, the stadium money is huge. How much will it affect, you know, like the whole club?
So yeah, the 60 to 70% of our total revenue is generated on a match day via ticket sales, season tickets, match day ticket sales, what people spend in the kiosks, corporate hospitality, and the benefits to our sponsors. So we are currently losing 60 to 70% of our revenue. And we are a business that last year turned over 11 million pounds sterling. So that's approximately 12.5 million euros. So 60%, 70% of that is actually, we've not been generating for the last 6 or 7 months. So it's having a catastrophic effect on our finances. but we are very lucky that we are backed by a company that is owned by Michael Eisner, who was the Walt Disney CEO and chief executive, and he's going to support us through this period.
Definitely. And another thing that I wanted to ask you regarding this same payment was or the financials behind this thing. You had mentioned pound and sterling. So another topic that is being discussed in the European football is the Brexit and how it will affect the players and the clubs. With getting foreign imports, how will it affect maybe Portsmouth?
Well, at the moment, as you probably aware, and your listeners are aware, that we have voted to leave the EU, as it's called, Brexit, but they're still not agreed the details of the divorce. So we don't know if players are going to be able to continue to come just freely between the United Kingdom and the rest of Europe, or whether there will be restrictions imposed. So I'm hoping. I'm a big advocate of the European Union, but I respect the decision of the vote. So that's it. And we have to get on and live with that. But I'm hoping that freedom of movement between EU countries will be able to continue. But I don't know how it's going to affect at the moment until we see the final legislation on that.
Definitely. And another aspect, that of course being a CEO, you would be more aware than what I would be, and your opinion is more valuable. And what is your opinion on financial fair play?
Well, I think that clubs should be self-sustainable. I don't think it's right that owners can take a very small club and put in loads and loads of money without any guarantees, and then the club spends loads and loads of money and gets itself into financial difficulties. So I think financial fair play is very, very much needed. Clubs need to be self-sustaining. As you've probably read, the League One in England at the moment, in the EFL, have taken a decision of a salary cap. And we are not agreeable to that because it doesn't take into account the size of the club. So you can have a club with 2,000 people attending every game, compared to a club like Sunderland that has 40,000 people attend a game, and they've both got the same budget to buy players with. We think that's wrong.
Definitely. And staying with the same thing, I wanted I wanted to touch on the topic that you spoke about. There is the salary cap, which is introduced. Why would they do that? Or is that something that might be implemented in the Premier League also?
I don't think so, but you can never say never. Maybe it will be, but if it was implemented in the Premier League, I would hope the cap would be introduced at the higher level to accommodate Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Tottenham, Arsenal, where what we have done in League One, it's been done to accommodate the smaller clubs in the league. So we have to halve our budget now to come down to the level that puts us on a par with a lot smaller clubs, where if there is a cap, it should, in my opinion, have been at the higher end. And then there should have been some controls in the amount of money owners can put in to get to that level of a cap. So we think it's wrong. We publicly and openly have said that we voted against it, and we will continue to fight against it because we believe that morally and principally it's not correct.
Definitely. And I'll get back to maybe the more monotonous question. And you have been at Portsmouth for a while, okay? And
7 years, yeah.
What are your goals and milestones that you have maybe set out when you came in for your tenure, and have you kind of achieved them?
So if you have to remember, I arrived at Portsmouth when the club was in administration. I don't know if your listeners are all that's an American Chapter 11. In the UK, we call it administration, which means...
At least I know what happened, because one of my favorite team also was almost about to go into administration. That is Liverpool, yeah. But yeah.
So Portsmouth went into administration. It had huge debts, was in grave danger of going out of existence. never existing again. So I arrived 8 years ago and worked with the administrators and the fans on saving the club. So at that time, as we exited administration, the club was still losing £1 million sterling per annum, and it was still £8 million sterling in debt. So over the next 7 years, we have continued. We've cleared the debt, turned the losses into a small profit every year. We own our own training ground now, so we've invested a lot in the infrastructure, and every year we continue to climb the league table. This year was disappointing because it was the year we would have hoped to have got into the championship. So if we'd have arrived in the championship this year, then I would have said that the plan was absolutely on schedule. But now that we didn't get promoted this year, and you could argue whether that was whether it was down to us as a club for not achieving that or because of COVID-19, we are probably a year now behind where we would like to be. But that doesn't mean we are going to make rash decisions. We continue with a long-term strategy, and that is built around continue to turn in a small profit every year, and at the same time keep increasing our player budget and climbing the league pyramid.
Definitely, for me personally, seeing Portsmouth there is quite not, I wouldn't say sad, because I don't have particular sentiments towards Portsmouth because I don't even support them, but you would want them at least, worst case being a championship Premier League team where you get relegated, and they are very far down, right now. So
we're only one league away from being.
But that's a very big league.
It's the Championship's a huge league. And I think if you look at Portsmouth's history, it's traditionally been in the Championship. That's where most of our fans see our home. So it is sad that we are not in that league. But as you well know, I'm sure your listeners, that the losses in the Championship per club are up at £20 million sterling per year. And because of we are still scarred from nearly going out of existence, that is very much part of our thinking. And where our owner Michael Eisner could put in a huge amounts of millions to get to the Championship, we don't want the club to get into that level of debt again. So and you say it's sad, but we sell out almost every single game, and our commercial and sponsorship level are at record levels since we came out of administration. So it is an enjoyable experience, in regards of running the club. But yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a lot more enjoyable when we are in the Championship.
No, the reason I say that it's sad is because from when I started watching, I only saw them in the Premier League, like the German Defoe days or the Peter Crouch days, like when you were in Europe. Those are the days I remember of Portsmouth, if I remember, any.
I agree. I mean, I was watching Sky Sports, which is the big sports channel in the UK, just the other night, and they were playing some old games, and it was a 2000 and something game of Portsmouth versus Southampton in the Premier League, and all the stars, Luar, and everyone that was in that game, and you're thinking, wow, this is Portsmouth, this is what it is about. But unfortunately, that period resulted in a club accumulating debts of over £100 million sterling. So it wasn't real. But, obviously we aspire to get to that level again, but it's going to take time.
Definitely. And I'll talk of your career, and you have also been involved with Bury before, and where you achieved quite a good success. And of course, it's sad to see what has happened to them. And also, in your opinion, before selecting a job, what do you look at in the club? Like many managers say that I look at the chairman. So what do you see?
So I'm quite unique, really, in that my main business is telecommunications. So it's not a job for me. I do it because I love it. So in 2009, I believe, Bury was in financial trouble then. And I stepped in to help the club voluntarily and became a director. So again, there I turned the club around, not on my own. We had a great team there, and we achieved promotion. We cleared the debts and put the club into profit. And then really I started to keep an eye on Portsmouth, because Portsmouth at that time looked like it was going to fold, and there wasn't going to be a Portsmouth anymore. So really for me it is a challenge of being involved in a club that is in desperate need of a turnaround. And as I say, maybe, Portsmouth, when it gets to the Championship, that might be where I feel that my work is done, and I look for another challenge at that point. But you've got to be careful with a club, because I learned from Bury that when I left, it was in a great financial position, but within the space of a year or two, it was back into trouble again. So you have to be on your guard all the time. A club that's in a great financial position can very quickly turn to being in a very desperate financial situation.
Definitely. And you said you do not have a history with football, and you have with you said you said telecommunications. So when you first volunteered for Bury FC, was it difficult to adjust, because you had to get the know-hows of everything?
Yeah, no, not really, because I was my main business, my telecommunications business, is based in Spain, and I used to help the football club there, the local football club, and I was president of that. So I was elected as president of the club in Spain. So I had a good knowledge, but that really gave me the bug to be involved in football. Hence why I was looking for a club that was in trouble to go and help in England, and Bury was that club.
Definitely. And you have also won CEO of the Year, I guess it's then your LinkedIn. Okay, I saw that. And it's do you look at other maybe some people or CEOs who are running different clubs, maybe anywhere all around the world, whose work you're impressed with?
Yeah, I mean, I won't name them because it wouldn't be fair, but I'll name one, and you'll like this, but like Peter Moore at Liverpool. Even before Liverpool went on the mad run, I was always very, very impressed with Peter Moore. But yeah, I have my own private opinions because I'm always looking for my successor as well. So when I'm around the clubs, in my mind, I already know the good people that I think Portsmouth should maybe approach if I ever left the club. So yeah, it's just the same. If you're a sports person, a football player or a cricket player, you will have an opinion on your opposite numbers. If you're a fast bowler or a spin bowler, you take an interest in other cricket clubs and cricket nations, and you'll have your own personal opinion on whether you think that's a good spin bowler or a bad spin bowler, or things you don't like about that bowler or you admire. And I'm exactly the same in regards of other CEOs.
Similarly, and this might be a very controversial, it might be a tough question for you, and there's no disrespect to Kenny, okay? And suppose you're hiring a new manager, what do you look at?
Well, I think the big one at Portsmouth I've learned is you have to be able to handle the pressure. So, I mean, in the first year or two when we came out of administration, I watched some very, very good managers who couldn't take the pressure. And I realized at that point that you had to bring someone in that could handle, 20,000 fans and social media and, the wider fan base of maybe 200,000 fans. It's a very, very different. To go to a small club with low expectations is a lot easier to manage. And just because you manage that doesn't mean that you could come to a big club with those expectation levels and be able to cope, because pressure makes players or managers or CEOs do things that wouldn't normally be in their character. And that is one of my biggest lessons that, Kenny had been at Wolves before and Millwall, and, they are tough clubs to manage with a very demanding fan base. So I knew that he was the right fit for the club. But it would be a consideration. Obviously their record, but yet in regards of outside of their ability, handling the pressure of a big club is a big thing for me.
Definitely. And you mentioned social media, and right now social media plays a big part maybe in anything, of football club to big countries, anything. Social media plays a very big part. So does that pressurize the working of the club in any way?
If it does, you're not doing your job properly. You have to listen to social media, respect people's views and opinions, but then ultimately you have to make the tough decisions, because that is what you are there to do. And as I say, with not even myself, Michael Eisner has run Paramount Pictures, ABC Studios, Disney for nearly 20 years. This is a very successful businessman. He has to be governed by his own judgment and the people that he trusts to give him opinions. So yes, social media is important. You have to take those opinions on board and be strong. But you have to do what you believe to be right in making the final decision.
Definitely. And the only reason I asked that is because I don't know, many of them are attributed that, like when David Moyes was at United, and the only reason he got the sack so fast is because he had become a joke in social media.
Exactly. And you can't let social media drive any business. You have to stick to your own values, your principles, your strategy, and not be blown off course by social media. And it is tough because it can, my wife is my barometer on social media, and I can be sat there having a really great night watching the telly, and then she'll say, "Oh, have you seen what this person said about you on social media?" And she'll read it out, and it completely ruins my evening. But that's life, and if you can't stand the heat, you shouldn't be in the kitchen.
Definitely. And staying with the same thing, and since you're so experienced in this football and also in other industry, like what are the major mistakes that you see in young CEOs who come up?
I don't know really. I mean, I think young CEOs and older CEOs can make the same mistakes. It's just about being experienced and learning from those mistakes. And that's what experience is all about. Being in a position that maybe I truly believe that you gain the experience and you become better by making those mistakes because you learn from them. I mean, there's instances, I won't name them, that I know I made mistakes, and if you keep continuing to make those mistakes, then you're not very good. But if you learn from them, then that's been actually a good experience and positive.
Definitely. And you have been involved in for quite a while, and it's been, I think, more than 20 years.
If you include my time, it's probably about 16 years in total now I've been involved in football. Yes.
So how has the game evolved for you in terms of managing everything?
I think the game is involved in when I first was involved in football, there wasn't social media. There was the odd message board, at the time, that was very in its early days. But I think that's been the biggest evolution. I think that there's been some periods during that. I mean, football went crazy financially a few years ago. I think in League Two and League One now, there's over the last few years, even without the salary cap, it started to look at itself. And again, we talk about experience, realise the mistakes that football has made, and there is trying to address that. I think the biggest thing that has changed has been the influx of billionaires from abroad, and that was obviously started at Chelsea with Abramovich, and followed by many other owners now. In Liverpool, American owners. You go through our Arsenal, American owners. So I think that's been the biggest change. Foreign owners coming in and Manchester City specifically. It's not really about how big a club is anymore. It's just how much money has your owner got that he's willing to fund that club. That's been the biggest change for me.
Definitely. Staying with that similar theme and influx of money, you all have kind of fallen from the days of playing in Europe and to now in League One. So how has your maybe strategy to buy players changed? How difficult is it to buy players to fit the stature of the club but not exceed the budget?
Yeah, so I think if you go back to the Premier League days, before my time at Portsmouth, and it's very similar to almost all the clubs in the Premier League, there really is, you're trying to it's two groups. You're trying to either make Europe to generate a lot of money or not get relegated from the Premier League. So it's very much getting your money onto the pitch for now. So Portsmouth at the time bought a lot of experienced professionals who were on a lot of money, and good luck to them for that. But it was very much about the here and now. When you're in League One or League Two or the Championship, you're trying to buy more talent underneath so that you can sell them in the future to get some money back into the club to continue, funding a very high salary budget. So I would say that the Premier League during the Portsmouth times was very much about the here and now, not about the future. It's about maintaining a position in the Premier League because of the riches there, where Portsmouth now is very much thinking about the mid to long term and the decisions that we take.
Definitely. And on that note, I'll ask you one final question, okay? And it's quite controversial. And if you had to choose one of these two players that you could bring to your club, only one, whom would you choose, Ronaldo or Messi?
Messi. I think Ronaldo is a better individual player, if I can be that respectful to Messi. I think Ronaldo can win a game on his own. Yeah, you could put Ronaldo in a League Two team and Ronaldo would win games on his own. Messi would make the team better. And I'm very much for the team ethos. I think Messi's all-round game is slightly better, but oh my God, it's such fine margins. And if Ronaldo's listening, I still hope I'm on his Christmas card list. But I genuinely, I do think I love. They're both spectacular players, the best of the very best. But yeah, I would probably just favour Messi, because I do think Ronaldo you could put into any team and make better, individually, but Messi would make the team better, bring the best out of other players.
Definitely. So, on that note, Mark, thank you so much for talking to me, and I wish you all the best, with the future campaign with Portsmouth, and hope to get them up all the way to Premier League, and hope you can have them come to Nepal for maybe pre-season, or tie up with a club in Nepal so that you grow your fan base. And hope to talk to you soon. Take care, stay safe. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.